Okay, it is time for some It is time for some PlayStation VR-ness. So, is it the end of PlayStation VR 2? Now, you've seen my very popular review for PlayStation VR 2. You know what my thoughts are on it. Or if you don't, you know where to go. It is on the Just VR Gaming channel on youtube.com/@JustVRGaming. That's the @ not AT, by the way. So, great device. They're all great devices, to be honest with you. Most of them, like Quest and the PlayStation VR 2. But there have been a mass of layoffs. There's been more layoffs than I've ever seen in my lifetime. I am a very young, but obviously old compared to your girlfriend, 42 years old. And I have never seen as many layoffs in the tech and gaming space as I have seen now. And I guess we're kind of considering that, the whole pandemic was considered like the equivalent of World War II rationing. I guess we're really seeing the effects now of it a year or two later after it's kind of stopped, so to speak. And it's really hitting. There's been so many. And Sony have been no exception. But why has that led to this very clickbaity, very ear-baity statement of it is the end of PlayStation VR 2? Now, don't leave if you're thinking this is overly negative or why, because I'm going to balance this and nuance it a little bit. Let's dive into some articles here. All right, so this is again roadtovr.com. Make sure I got it right. Yep, there we go. Got to shout out the colleagues using their articles and their writing to react and produce content. It's only right that we give them a name drop. So basically, Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan is isn't he leaving? Pretty sure he's leaving, or he hasn't left yet. Didn't he have a birthday party or something when it was the Game Awards? I don't know. Anyway, leaving party, Matt. Announced that the company is laying off 900 PlayStation employees, or around 8% of the company. I should cover the fact that I didn't realize this. I always had my suspicion about it, but I never realized how really true it is. In case you don't know, PlayStation, despite being a Sony-owned Japanese company and Sony being Japanese, the PlayStation has been made purposely to be a fully westernized company since around 2019. So if you ever wondered why there's such a fear of booba and attractive women and some kind of weird progressive stuff that goes on with the PlayStation these days compared to the old days of the kind of quirky Japanesey style get your anime on type of thing that you used to have with PlayStation, those days are long gone since 2019. It's very much a Western owned thing, Western studio thing, Western run thing, Western CEOs and so forth, and Jim Ryan being no exception and representative of that as well. So, whether you love that or hate that, that's the reality of it. It's only Japanese in the name, but otherwise it's very much a Western console. You could think of it as basically Microsoft version 2 or something like that, or Xbox version 2, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, the big sticky behind this is that they shut down fully the London studio, and London studio is the creators behind the excellent Blood and Truth. I said I haven't even played that one yet. I will play it and I will record it and I will show you guys it and do something with it. But it is meant to be excellent, Blood and Truth. And they also did so a lot of demo games for the original PlayStation VR 1 as well. That was very cool. So that's gone. Am I saying too much? Let me know. Give me feedback. But there's that whole thing going on. Obviously, this has led a lot of people to feel like, the PlayStation VR 2 is done because they haven't even made any exclusive studio in-house games as far outside of the ones that they launched with. So what's going on? Like the London studio. But what I should also mention to balance this whole story out is that they also, I don't know if I've got it highlighted here or if it speaks about it in this article, because obviously this article is focused on XR, but they also got rid of people at, I think it was Insomniac and another one. I didn't prep to have that article open as well, but they also remove people from the people that made like Spider-Man and other places as well. So it's not just their VR studios, but the VR studio specifically is one that they shut down entirely, along with the other ones that they just reduced the staff in. So it's got people nervous because they're already not producing a lot of games in-house anyway on the PlayStation VR 2, and it also echoes my concerns before this even came out. I spoke about my concerns about the PlayStation VR 2 compared to Meta and the Quest, where they are clearly fully in. Like they're already making next versions. They're already thinking about what they're going to put next one. Zuckerberg is full body in, neck deep, not shit, but neck deep in VR. Like he's fully committed to it, fully committed to the vision of it, the whole Meta Quest, Metaverse thing. He even changed the company to Meta because he believes in this Meta thing so much. PlayStation, who knows? Who knows with them, right? To be fair to them, they have got a second VR headset. That says a lot still. but it doesn't look like they are the ones that are going to be making the innovation in the games. And if it's going to be third-party studios, we're not going to get much of the unique features of the PlayStation VR 2 being utilized, because that's how Sony be, even before they went non-turn Japanese. They're not turning Japanese, they're turning Western, right? So unfortunately, that's what's happened. Continuing in the article, studio behind PlayStation VR 2's Blood and Truth, PlayStation's London studio, was last working on an unannounced online co-op combat game set in fancy London. That was cool. I've still not realized I've got a piece of peanut. Come in my mouth here. Wait, they come in my mouth. Oh god. You know what I mean? Yeah. Alright. So, you kind of like thinking, is that true or not? I'm buying it. Because it's just, I remember my cereal yet. So where's the nut come from? It's probably pistachio nuts. Why am I talking about this? Sorry. Right. So, essentially, my buzzword or cover word, it's my version of saying or that game is expected to be cancelled now because of the studios shutting down. Unless they're going to let some other studio do it, which is unlikely. So that's what I was going to say. Do you guys feel like co-op and multiplayer works in VR yet? I've just never been comfortable with the idea of trying and playing a co-op or multiplayer game in VR. I don't know. I just can't get my head around it. It feels like too much work. Maybe I'm missing a trick. Let me know your thoughts on that, just out of interest. Are you upset that you might not get this modern fancy London setting co-op combat game? I mean, it sounds cool, to be honest with you. It's also affected Firesprite, the studio behind Horizon franchise, on the VR, including the exclusive Horizon Call of the Mountain. I think they're also responsible for a game called The Perception or something like that, I think it was. So they've lost some people. My head's getting shiny. The recent news is that Sony is making the PlayStation VR 2 officially compatible. This is the silver lining, with PC VR games. Now, this was announced before the layoffs. So I believe the announcement that they were going to make it compatible with the PC was announced before the layoffs themselves. Maybe to soften the blow. Now the conspiracy theories begin at this point, as this comes out afterwards and it becomes interesting. Because now we're thinking, okay, are they doing this because they know they're not going to be making any games themselves in-house for the PlayStation VR 2, and therefore they can let their partners and third parties be the ones to worry about it and do it for them? Or was they always going to do this anyway? Or is it part of their whole movement to PC anyway? Because not most of the games, a lot of the games end up on PC anyways. So maybe this was part of that broader strategy, that broader global westernized strategy. Who knows? I guess that's a question for you guys to answer as well. What do you think on those counts? So continuing here, it says that Sony is strategically scaling back on first-party content right now, which is an uncertain future for the sort of anchor content PlayStation VR 2 needs as it heads into its second year. Now, this is what some of you guys have been saying in the comments on my review of PlayStation VR 2 and the verses and so forth, that some of you, you're hyperboiling a little bit, or just kind of being a little bit facetious, being friendly, facetious, or whatever, in saying that the PlayStation VR 2 has no games, which is basically what you mean is they don't have enough headline exclusive hitters. I mean, I just went through the old classic library of Oculus Studio meta games, and there's a lot of them. I got a lot of them in the wish list now. I didn't realize how many of them there was. So there's clear difference in investment. I didn't realize how right I was about the investment side of things. There's a clear difference in investment when it comes to these two VR machines. And so then my question has to be to you guys, the Just VR gaming community and Lumai. What do you think about all this, man? What do you think about all these layoffs? Have you ever seen as much layoffs as these ever? I mean, YouTube just dropped a whole bunch of people that were like contractors that were trying to sue for riots and all this stuff. That was kind of funny though. But it's not funny. I shouldn't, I mean, it's kind of funny because they weren't permanent staff anyway. So it's like trying to get full-time employer riots as a 0-hour contract. Doesn't really make any sense. Anyway, let's not go into the kind of elements of entitlement that people have these days as well. But there is a real sad side to so many people losing jobs. I'm in currently at time of recording a little bit of an interim, was a transition myself, where I'm looking for either gig work and different things to kind of supplement income and help provide for these side gigs and so forth as well. Which is why I'll always mention, I don't want to be on that screen with the green screen, because there's too much greenness. It kills the effect a little bit. You end up with holes in your face, such as like real life. So even myself is trying to supplement things and seeing all these people losing their jobs, and these people with skills losing their jobs that can now fill these spaces. Makes you nervous about finding your own sort of jobs that work within the things that you're trying to do and the things you're trying to accomplish and so forth. From my perspective, I only feel for them, kind of feel for myself. So if you want to buy some merch or want to check out some of the Amazon links and whatever, you know where the links are and all the places, greatly appreciate you in advance, because these are interesting times So if you have the wealth or you have the change to spare, share it. We appreciate you supporting your local indie creators, designers, developers, videographers, broadcasters, and so forth and so such. So I appreciate you guys. And your eyeballs is great as well. Your eyeballs help massively, and liking and subscribing is definitely a thing to do. If you're in a place where you can like, subscribe, or follow, depending on what you're listening to on Spotify or whatever, do whatever is the thing that shows that you like the thing and you want more of the thing, because this is the first one and we need to know what's what, one is improving, one is changing, what you don't like, what you do like, and so such, so forth and so on. Lily, what do you think of the podcast so far? Think it's good?
It's been a whirlwind tour through the latest in VR, hasn't it? From the dizzying heights of new app releases for the Vision Pro to the shifting sands of tech company collaborations, it feels like we're right in the middle of a VR revolution. Then there's the serious side, pondering the implications of industry layoffs. It's a lot to take in. But hey, that's what makes this podcast so compelling. We're not just talking games, we're delving into the heart of what makes VR tick, the big moves, and the bigger consequences. It's been an episode packed with insights, and I'm here for the ride. Can't wait to see where we're headed next.
I just realized I've kind of forgotten to give my thoughts on the PlayStation VR 2 situation. So I kind of said earlier already that I said some of my thoughts and concerns in my review and my versus videos for it and the Quest 3. But I think that the PC development will be great for it. It would definitely up my overall score for it that I gave in the review if it was compatible with the PC to the same level as the Quest 3, for example. Compatible with your Steam library and so forth. I think that would be great. I think if that also lent itself to them including some PlayStation VR 1 games and putting them onto the PC and then allowing you to use the PlayStation VR 2 in that way or something along those lines will go a long way, and it would at least cover some of the worries as far as like, okay, they're not going to make any device, they're not going to make any exclusives here. It doesn't look like they're going to be making any exclusives or much at all, which is kind of why I did caveat as well in the review itself that if you don't mind none of the unique features of the device being taken advantage of by third parties and so forth, and you already have a PlayStation 5 and it's kind of a great option, right? But if you don't, and you don't care about the mobile graphics level of the Quest 3 at stock price, and you're saving a lot more money and you're getting a lot more features in terms of mixed reality and productivity and so forth, and you know that the way that Meta upgrade the device and its capabilities with the updates, it just makes it a no-brainer in those scenarios. Whereas you just wonder with Sony sometimes, and if they don't get the adoption quickly, sometimes they can be like certain other companies that behave a certain way when things don't take off a certain way. I think Google's known for that sometimes. So it's going to be an interesting situation. I think overall it depends how things pan out, but I think we'll be okay, roughly. I think we'll be okay if they add PC in properly. I think that will buttress a lot of the issues. And I think that will allow them to get away with not making any major or many exclusives. But apparently it's going to be a very quiet year as far as major exclusives anyway for PlayStation generally. So share your thoughts, and I have to link this in and fix it into the other parts and order it right. Did I ask Lily, did I ask you what you thought about it now as well? What do you think about this? The PlayStation 2 without having a library of exclusives built for the system? Can it survive if it adds the ability to have PC compatibility? Would that be enough?
The scale of layoffs across the tech and gaming industry is indeed troubling. Such widespread layoffs could indicate a shift in industry priorities or financial strategies, especially in response to broader economic conditions. As for the impact on PSVR 2, the layoffs at Sony, including the closure of London studio known for Blood and Truth, could lead to a reduction in first-party titles, which are often critical in driving platform adoption and innovation. This might signal a pivot in Sony's strategy towards PSVR 2, potentially leaning more on third-party developers or exploring compatibility with PC VR to sustain the platform's growth. Ultimately, it's a wait-and-watch scenario where the realignment of resources could either hinder or, paradoxically, lead to a sharper, more focused strategy for PSVR 2's future.
Yes, she is a lady of very few words, but very powerful words nonetheless. There you go. So what do you guys think about this then? So do you think this is like, apart from discussing as well, like the amount of layoffs just across the board is just so many. But what do you think? Do you think this is the end of the PlayStation VR 2? No edgelording aside, clickbaiting aside, and so forth. Do you guys think it is the end of PlayStation VR 2? Is it the beginning of the end, or is this just a new beginning? Can the PlayStation VR 2 survive on its own with just third-party games? Games that potentially don't even utilize any of its unique technological capabilities or advantages, such as eye tracking outside of performance or headset vibration and so on. Can it survive without that stuff? Does a VR XR headset need exclusives? Do we need exclusives anymore in general? Does it matter? Look at the Xbox. The Xbox doesn't have still that much amazing exclusivity necessarily. It's mostly to do with the Game Pass as its unique selling point. So do you even need, I mean, I'm kind of simplifying it a little bit. I mean, they are definitely in a better place than they were when they had no studios and stuff like that. But, you know, as a comparison, do you really need system exclusivity anymore as far as stuff like that? Is the game going to be a case of just putting their stuff on more things and making their stuff work with more stuff? Can you see them surviving or being fine with just putting PlayStation, what little exclusives there are, putting them on the PC and other places just like they do with their other games, or some of their other games? Do they need exclusives? Is this the beginning of the end? Are you concerned about the London studio being shut down? Bear in mind that apart from that studio being shut down, other studios lost staff as well, including the makers of Spider-Man 2 and so forth, which apparently people are saying is Spider woke too. I don't know. Again, the Western games like to make the females extra ugly, even though most of these games are fantasy, because no such thing as a Spider-Man, so you don't need to have realistic females or realistic males because it's fantasy. But that's another whole discussion altogether and another whole different opinion. You can touch on that if you want to. Just be respectful, obviously. But yeah, what do you guys think about this, man? Do you think that this is the beginning and end? And with PC, the PC VR thing, are you excited about that? Speaking of which, there's another part to this that I want to quickly discuss as well.